I just want to do a quick review of the new Laser 3s after using them for a couple of months. I haven't seen anyone really review them after using them yet. It's mostly like an unboxing, then they give you their opinion of the boot after wearing them once or twice. And yeah, so for the purpose of the review, I'm just going to compare them to two other boots that I have. The first being the old Lasers, like the Laser 2s, which happen to be K-leather in my case, and last year's Vapors, the Vapor 5s. So yeah, I guess let's get going. Alright, so as you can see, quite a bit has changed between the Laser 2s and the Laser 3s, especially given the fact that I have the Laser 2s in the K-leather version and then the synthetic, 3s. But one of the most important things didn't actually change in them, and that would be the stud configuration. As you can see, they are exactly identical on both the 2s and the 3s, which has its ups and, its downs. The upside is that they still have this configuration here of the studs for kicking, so they get stuck in the ground and you're not gonna slide or skid or anything. You're just gonna get a solid shut off. But at the same time, because your foot does get planted in the ground really well, it's not as easy to cut in them as it would be with the Vapors. Okay, so another feature that Nike kept from the old boot would be the insoles, the shock absorbing insoles that the boots come with. Those are the pour-on ones, and they're probably the best ones I've ever had. And they also have the added feature of having those little pores here that draw the sweat away as you run, so you never slip inside your boot. Okay, so I've talked about what stayed the same in the boot, and the next thing I want to talk about is, I guess if you're watching this review, you're probably considering getting the boots, and there's two versions of the boot that you can get. There's the K-leather version and synthetic K-something leather, I can't remember what they actually call it, which is the one that I have. So, having had both the actual K-leather and, the fake K-leather, I can honestly say that they're about the same when it comes to just handling the ball and the ball sticking to the boot. But the synthetic K-leather actually has one feature that I wasn't happy at all with. Like everyone would say that the boot feels very comfortable when you buy it and so on, and it's really true. But the thing that most people don't tell you is that the boot stays exactly the same for after 3 months. I still get the same blisters in the same places. The fit feels exactly the same. So in retrospect, I kind of regret not getting the K-leather, because, at least with K-leather, you can size down a little bit and, then it'll just mold to your foot perfectly, but I didn't do that. So yeah, that's one regret that I have. Okay, so moving on to one of the most prominent features on the new boot, which is the, the 5 pod things for shooting, which replaced the, the old shot guard, or I can't remember what it's called, shot shield or something like that. But in any case, they're made from the exact same material as that little black, the black dot here is made of, which is basically really, really hard plastic-ish, rubberish material. And the nice thing about it is that when you shoot the ball, like the ball will fly really fast in the direction that you kick the ball too. But unless it's one of the new synthetic balls, like not even like really synthetic, like not the plasticky new balls, it won't actually swerve very well. It'll just fly straight. And I mean, it's really good for power, but this being an accuracy boot, it doesn't seem to do much for accuracy. But nonetheless, like I think Nike realized that most people actually shoot with the foot knuckles. I don't know what that part is called in English, but yeah, so it's a much better placement for shots than it was just dead smack in the middle of your foot. Okay, so the other big new feature on the boots are those little rubber hairs that, let me see how close I can get to them, that the boots have that are supposed to help you with swerving the ball. And like many other people who've tried the boot, and like over the last 3 months, I didn't actually find them to help you swerve the ball at all. Not even close to, what the old fin thing that, the old lasers had. Like this would actually help you swerve quite a bit. But this doesn't help you much at all, or at least if it does, it's not very noticeable. But on the other hand, what I found those little fins to be really good for is control. They're actually insanely good at like stopping a ball mid-air and so on. It just kind of rubs against them and stops and just drops straight down, which is really, really cool. Okay, so another thing that is often neglected in reviews of the Laser 3s is just the insane amount of protection the boot offers you. As a striker, I quite often have not the most graceful of defenders, step on me, kick me, land on me, and so on. And you know, there's a lot of really good features. Like those pods, like I mentioned before, are made of really hard plastic, so if someone stomps you, nothing will get through. And even here, like I don't know if you can actually see it, let me try. You can sort of see it, I guess. There's in the tongue of the boot, they inserted a really thick portion of leather, so if someone steps right on the laces, nothing will happen to you. Even if the stud goes through it, there's a thick chunk of leather that will protect you. Now, another nice thing is, even though it seems like it's all, you know, soft and green on the outside, if you look inside the boot, the plastic heel guard goes like up to here, so I hope you can see this, up to here, which is like here on the outside by the 0 of the 90, which is pretty far. And as far as durability goes, there are very, very well made boots, like really high quality materials, really thick. I'm just gonna you know, go around the boot and show you what they look like after 3 months or so of being used about 3 times a week for a good 2 hours, hour and a half each time. And yeah, just take a look. There's hardly any damage. Very durable boots. Very, very, very good. Okay, so for the final portion of the review, I want to talk about the other boot in the price range, which is the Mercurial Vapors, and compare it to the Laser 3s, because, I mean, chances are if you're, you know, watching this review, you're looking to buy a pair of boots, and chances are you're a striker, so I'll compare the two. The Vapors are way, way lighter. Those are the Vapor 5s, by the way, not the Vapor 6. I think I mentioned it before, but yeah, I didn't get the new Vapors. I just got the Lasers instead. But they're much lighter, and the maneuverability in them is much, much better. Like, I find that the stud configuration is so much better for running and cutting and so on than the Lasers are. But with that said, sometimes you know how you have to get your foot stuck in the ground to shoot. Sometimes you will slide a little bit with the Vapors, which basically never, ever, ever happens with the Lasers. That's a huge plus. Now, the control of the Vapors is much, much better than it is with the Lasers, mostly because they're so thin, like it's almost like playing barefoot. But with that said, you can stop balls in the air much easier with the little fins than you can with the Vapors. Now, the Vapors are much better at swerving the balls, surprisingly, because of the material that they're made of. It's incredibly sticky. Like, I don't know how to describe it, but it's very, very sticky. Whereas, you know, everything except for the black portion of the boots on the Lasers is not very sticky, which makes swerving the ball a little bit hard compared to the Vapors. Another really important difference between the two boots actually has to do with the, you know, the skeleton, if you will, of the boot. Like many other power boots, the Nikes have this stripe right here. It's just a solid plastic stripe that keeps the boot from bending inwards as you kick, so you transfer more power into the shot. But the downside of it is that your foot actually ends up sitting higher on the Lasers than it does on the Vapors. And the Vapors, the sole is a little bit softer, like it will bend, so you will lose a little bit of power when shooting. But what that means is, you know, you are much closer to the ground in the Vapors. So when you're cutting or when, you know, when you're running, you're not likely to roll your foot in, which actually happens surprisingly a lot with the Lasers. And, you know, that's a downside of the Vapors, of the Lasers compared to the Vapors. But with that said, I mean, that's the price you pay for power in your shots, right? The last difference between the two boots that I can think of is the amount of protection that each offers. You know how I rambled about how awesome the protection is on the Lasers? Well, the Vapors have no protection. There's nothing to talk about. There's, you know, really thin. Any little nick, anytime if someone stomps you, whatever, you'll feel it, and you'll feel it really, really badly. Yeah. Alright, so I guess it's conclusion time, and you know, the Laser 3s are a very solid boot. I'm very happy that I bought them. You know, the amount of power that they offer, the amount of control in the air that they offer, the amount of protection they offer is unrivaled as far as I know. I've tried the, you know, the Predator X's, I have the Vapors, and this is by far the best striker boot I've ever had. With that said, there's some downsides compared to other boots. You know, I'd get the K-leather version because if there's any advantage to the synthetic leather, it's just, you know, in Nike's advertising department, because everything else seems to be about the same. And, you know, you just don't get the amazing fit that you get with K-leather. But you know, there's some downside compared to the Vapors, at least, in the sense that you don't have the same maneuverability. You don't have, you know, quite the same quality of touch, but that comes at the cost of protection and so on. And yeah, I guess that's all I can think of about those boots, and I hope you like this review, and you know, bye bye.